While I was younger, I would attend a Pentecostal church with my cousins and my brother and my grandmother, my uncle. And it was a regular thing that we'd do every Sunday. We'd go to church and go to church, go to church. And I was also involved with the certain ministries in that church. And I just remember always my grandma being there with me and being there for me. Eventually, she passed away, and I considered her my best friend. She passed away, and I eventually started rebelling. I stopped going to church. It was just really such a terrifying time in my life, losing my grandmother. My character just started drifting away of who I was then. Even though I would go to church, I kept certain values and morals that I was taught along the way. After high school, that's when I started experiencing with drugs and alcohol, and being under the influences of drugs and alcohol did not benefit me at all. Although in the moment I enjoyed it, but going home, that was a whole different story. I was miserable, and I felt lonely and empty. I knew those kind of things would not be able to satisfy me at all. And I was just digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper into the emptiness and the loneliness I had in my life. I dealt with depression for several months after a certain situation came into my life because of the decisions I chose. It was rough being in depression because the only person that was hurting me was myself and my thoughts and this guilt that I had within me, and I knew I needed help. How I sought that help, I managed to just gain the strength to start attending church now. After a few months of just attending this new church, the youth got invited to a youth conference in San Antonio. So we took off to San Antonio, and I knew it was something to deal with, like, God. I was still hurting inside, and I needed this void, this emptiness, this loneliness to be healed quick. I did have thoughts of suicidal and wanting to take my own life, but that would just devastate my loved ones, so I didn't want to do that. So going to this youth trip, the title was To Encounter God. It didn't dawn on me like what I would experience there. These young adults that were running this youth conference, they did a skit, and I hadn't really seen anything like it. And this skit portrayed everything I was in, my life, the type of environment I was in, the things I would do, and eventually what led up to the ending of that skit. Something hit me. Something hit a nerve. And so I knelt down. It was in this arena setting. So I knelt down, and I just started to cry out to God. I didn't know going to this trip, I didn't know that I was going to meet or have an encounter, an experience with God, because of such of a person I was. So I knelt down and I started to pray, I just started to talk, and this was my cry of wanting to be free, wanting to be redeemed and delivered from this oppression, this depression that I was in, and the loneliness and the void and all this guilt that was just being bundled up in me. I wanted out. And that was the day that I chose to give my life to Christ. My name is Erica, and that was my testimony.